Okay, so we're finally getting to the trials. However, the ending ticks me off. But they've got to make Agatha look like as much of a bitch as possible. So, before I guess by the end she becomes a decent person. But it still sucked. So, Sharon quite rightly called what was happening to her a kidnapping. Now, because, she didn't want to walk the witch's road. And as Jen pointed out, Sharon isn't a witch. So she's putting the rest of the group in more danger. Probably because they'd have to not only protect themselves, but her. Which makes sense. So, Sharon tries to leave, which, I'm sorry, you're on a creepy road that appeared out of nowhere, and your first instinct is to leave everybody. I mean, granted, she doesn't, when she hears that they're witches and this is their coven, she doesn't actually believe them, but still, maybe not the best move. I mean, at least, Agatha was the one who tricked her. The others were just as surprised as her. So maybe ask one of them to help her get out or something. But also, I can understand it because, she doesn't know who to trust at that point. So she sits in some moss and immediately she starts sinking in. And they're able to, well, mostly Alice was able to pull her out. And so then Agatha mentioned, "Oh, by the way, stay on the road. Don't wander to the side of the road." I'm sorry. This is the first time Sharon heard the song. She does not believe witches exist, magical witches anyway. Why would she have even thought that sitting on the side of the road might be a good idea, might be a bad idea? So Billy is being annoying, trying to, whenever they say something, he is the explainer. Which, I mean, for the audience, that's fine. But I'm sure for the witches, it must be hella annoying to be mansplained to. So, but because of what Sharon did, she got them to the first try, which Jen noticed. And, so they walk to this house, and Sharon asked if this is the end, and Billy was like, that would be a bummer. Which, now he told Agatha he wants power. I'm still not convinced that's what he actually wants. But it's interesting. They all found out that he's incapable of speaking his name, at least to them. But Lilia realizes it's a sigil spell and that, it's basically he can't say his name to other witches. Which answers my question about how he could, live his day-to-day life. I mean, obviously, if you can't say your name or your life story, yeah, that would make it rather difficult to get to know someone. So that answers that question. So they walk into the house. Sharon, bless her heart, is, ringing the doorbell because, you don't want to just walk in unannounced. Agatha decides to do just that. And they walk in, And they're looking around. It's a regular house, but they all change clothes. And there's a wine bottle with 4 glasses. And so they all drink wine except for Agatha, because Agatha knows that this is a bad idea. Now, whether she knows it's poisoned, I do not know. But she is aware that she cannot drink the wine, that something bad will happen. Now, ironically, because she did not drink the wine, she was preventing them from curing themselves. So Sharon was drinking quite a bit of the wine, so she starts feeling the effects first. And so they make Agatha drink the wine because they realize that everyone has to drink it. And so then Jen is going through, she figures out what the poison is, and she uses it to, everybody's talking about, the side effects, and then they one by one get hallucinations. It takes Agatha to tell Jen to make a potion. It's like, that should be self-evident. But considering towards the end, she's like, if I had my powers, I could just, take care of this immediately. Just wave of my hand and it's gone. So she's obviously not thinking straight. So she sends them all to get certain ingredients. And I find it hilarious how some ingredients, even though they sound strange, are just basic ingredients like honey. I didn't catch what the Eye of Newt is in real life. But, so she's gathering all these ingredients, and each and every one of them, except for Agatha, because she's a little behind the game. And, of course, Billy, because he was not allowed to drink the wine, even though he was 100% willing. And I just love it how they're like, but you're underage. One of the things that make that age thing so stupid, that might be even more stupid than people who are underage cannot even handle alcohol in the grocery store. It's like, what, he's gonna get through osmosis? This is almost as stupid. They're trying to save their lives. I mean, at that point, now granted, it turned out it was a good thing he didn't drink, but under the circumstances, I thought it was rather dumb. Now, the fact that he isn't part of the coven, that makes more sense, because technically he's not. So, like I said, each and every one of them had a hallucination. I couldn't figure out Lilia's hallucination, but it looked like someone in, I don't know, Middle Ages dress. And then it went into some black and white thing. And she then yelled, "She's dead, they're all dead." So obviously this is something traumatic from her past. Alice also has a hallucination, but this is of her mother. And she's talking about how her grandmother died today, and even at long distances she felt it, and how she's next, and blah, blah, blah. Spooking Alice enough to get out of that room. Now, Jen told them that they were all going to experience hallucinations. I'm sorry. If you're expecting hallucinations, why are you following these strange figures? I realize Alice wants to see her mom again, but same thing with Lilia. Why do you think this is real by any chance? So then, now Jen had earlier, when they were looking for a corkscrew, had told Billy seems to be fanboying over Agatha. And she told him a story about how people are saying that she exchanged her son to Mephisto for the Darkhold. And of course, Billy refuses to believe that. And she is like, well, that's what they say. Turns out, based on her hallucination, what they say is correct. Now, when they mentioned that he could have been a demon, apparently Senor Scratchy, and yes, for those who also watch Emergency Awesome, yes, it is Spanish. It's not Senior Scratchy, it's Senor. I didn't realize that that was a hard Spanish word to know because Sesame Street. But anyway. So it turns out that that's true because she sees this baby bassinet and it turns out the Darkhold is there instead of a baby. So that explains what happened to her son. She exchanged him for the Darkhold, which sounds like a Agatha thing to do. Which would explain why she knows so much to warn Wanda about the Darkhold. So, everybody, of course, has hallucinations but Billy, because even though they're calling him Teen now. And, so they, let's see, did I miss a hallucination? Oh, yes. And Jen hallucinates this man who calls her an inconvenient woman and tries to drown her. Of course, she eventually comes to and she is basically drowning herself. So I guess that's why they succumb to the hallucinations. They're that strong that you literally are living the hallucination that you can't get out of it. So, okay. So then Jen puts everything in and she's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, what I'm forgetting. I've never done this potion before. And Agatha gives her a pep talk, basically saying, okay, they took your powers, but they can't take your knowledge. So what is it that you're missing? And it turns out she needed the blood of someone who hasn't been poisoned, which is, of course, Billy. So Agatha just grabs a knife, slashes his hand, and he didn't yelp or anything, but that's probably because he didn't really have a lot of time. It was so quick, and it was like, what's happening? So, and probably the minute his blood touched the potion and everybody was cured, his hand probably was cured too, is my guess. And so everybody drinks a potion, then they're like, why is the clock still going? Oh shit, Mrs. Hart. So they give it to Sharon. And they obviously didn't make it because everyone goes out through an oven. And this was hilarious where she said, yeah, I knew someone who was a witch, a beautiful witch, and she had an oven too, and she got and it didn't work out for her. I'm pretty sure that was Hansel and Gretel. Of course, I don't think she was a beautiful witch, but I'm thinking that's Hansel and Gretel because they tricked the witch in that story to go into the oven herself. And so they cooked her instead of her cooking Hansel. Anyway, I think I still do remember my fairy tales. So anyway, they have to get out through the oven. And Alice is the last one to go, which makes sense because she's the protector witch. So they all go down, and by doing so, they all revert back to normal. Except for Sharon, who is now dead. And that is all on Agatha. Because even though they just barely made it to getting the potion down her gullet, I think she was probably dead already. That it wasn't that she was just passed out. I think she probably was already dead at this point. Either way, that's on Agatha. That's a death on Agatha because what the hell? So people are questioning what everyone's heart's desire is going to be. And how Agatha thinks her heart's desire is her power, but it's going to turn into something else. Emergency Awesome suggested it's the friends she made along the way. I wonder if one of theirs, if not Agatha's heart's desire, is going to turn to resurrecting Sharon. Because it's possible. I mean, granted, she asked, who's Sharon? So it's obvious that she just wasn't listening to her at all. She was so focused on her ruse that she refused to even hear anything that Sharon said. Which means she never heard her name. Because she and the other coven were kept calling her Mrs. Hart, even though that's not her name. It was only Billy who actually listened. Now, it could be that, or, like I said, if it turns out he's Billy Maximoff, which, like I said, there was Lilia mentioned that there was a sigil spell placed on him, which was news to Billy. You know, he's probably like, that's why Agatha was acted very bizarre whenever I said my name. Okay. But, they initially thought it was Agatha, and Agatha's like, nope, not me. I had nothing to do with Sigil. So, I wonder if at this point, she's putting the pieces together that he's Billy Maximoff. Or if she's not even thinking about it. So yeah, it looks like Sharon's dead. Which, if true, that would make sense that probably next episode, I thought that's what's going to happen this episode, but next episode is probably when Rio appears. Rio Vidal. Now, the question becomes, how the hell did she know where Agatha was and how to get there? Because for her to get to where Agatha is, not just onto the Witch's Road, but to go to where Agatha was, maybe that's part of her power. I don't know. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to discuss. Anyway, I think I started with Billy's power is just like Wanda's. He has the power to warp reality. But unlike his mother, he's mentally stable. So he could literally resurrect Sharon. And it probably wouldn't be as taxing, nor would nor would it have as many consequences. But like I said, maybe it's going to turn out Agatha's heart's desire is going to be not necessarily her power, but resurrecting Sharon. Because it's possible that at some point she's going to feel guilty that her actions got someone killed. Because it's one thing to want, not care about your coven and basically just using them to further a goal. But Sharon wasn't supposed to be there to begin with. She was there simply because Agatha lied to her. So, um, yeah, I believe that is all I have for this video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.